Alright, what's up guys? This is the updated Gabumon deck profile. So starting off first with our Tamers, we are still playing the 1 Ukomon. It's a very good Tama, it's the reason it's at a 1. And then of course 4 Wanyamon. This is really good in this deck because of your draw power. This is really good in any stack. This is really good in one particular stack. We'll get to that though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Next we're going to start with the Tamers. Because this is a bond deck, we are still playing 4 of the BT6 mat. Draw a card, gain a memory whenever you promote a Gabumon or Gabumon. Very good. You do that all the time in this deck now. And then, of course, he lets you warp into the bond for 2 security for the cost. Very good. Next, 2 Davis. Because we're not really playing the Garu engine anymore, this is just better than BT15 mat. It's a memory setter, which is very good. And it grabs any blue card, or any blue Digimon, I should say, so that's very nice. And then 2 Sora Joe. This card's really good because there is a small source strip engine in this deck that allows you to get rid of a lot of sources and bounce stuff anywhere between a level 3 to a level 6 or a 7. This is really good in this deck. And plus, that extra memory, if your opponent has something with no sources, is not a joke. That really trips people up. They really don't want to hard play anything because of this card. And of course, we start still playing the 3 Louie. This card is just a kill shot. It's a really good combination with the mat, like plus with the Uko as a extra card this combos with. Like Louie is really broken still, and it enables this deck to even exist in this format. Next up, moving to the level 3s, still playing 4 of the BT15 Gabumon. When you promote at the start of your main phase, so either if he's already on the board or if you're promoting him at the beginning of your turn, if you have a mat on the board, you get to draw a card, and you just get to give anything a blocker, which doesn't always come up, but it does come up in certain matchups. And then the inheritable is a draw 1 once per turn when attacking. Next, we are playing 4 of the EX1 Gabumons. Use this guy for his inheritable to reveal top 3 when attacking to grab a Gabumon or any Tamer. So again, he does grab Louie, which is very good, and he grabs any of your other Gabumons, including Bond of Friendship. So that's why we play him. Then we play 3 copies of the Bond Gabumon. He is the BT6. When you play a mat, you get a gain a memory. This is all turns, so if a mat gets hit out of your security while he's sitting on the board, you do get to gain the memory, and you could also just make your mats 2 cost, which is nice. And then of course you use them primarily for the inheritable of when attacking once per turn. If it's Bond of Friendship in name, unsuspend him, meaning your Bond of Friendship can swing 3 times. Very good. And last but not least, 2 copies of Uko. 9 times out of 10, I didn't always see myself evoing him in the raising. Sometimes I would just hard play him out to the board and then tell my opponent to deal with it, because if they don't deal with it, they're threatened by multiple Gabumons just coming out in the next turn. If I have this combo, I can promote potentially like 2 extra Gabumons. So that's very good. Good aggression card. Next up, we're moving to level 4s. Shout out to Sean for this card. We are playing 3 copies of the BT1 Secret Rare Digimon. As long as you have a blue Tamer on the field, you can unsuspend him. So this almost works like a pseudo promo Greymon for the Agumon deck, where you're potentially trying to get 2 checks off your opponent super early. So this is really good. And then the inheritable is all turns. If you have a blue Digimon, gain 1000 DP. It doesn't always come up, but being able to have your level 6 and your level 5s have that extra 1000 DP could be important in certain matchups.
Should be at 4. It should be. There should be 4.
Sean thinks I should run 4, but I thought 3 was a really good soft spot for that. Next, 2 Gabumon.
Top of a baby's head.
Like I said, there's a small source strip engine in here, and because of that, Gabumon can basically bounce anything that's a 5 or lower. Just when you attack, you get to strip a source. And then if any of your opponent's Digimon have no sources, you can bounce it back to your hand at level 5 or lower. So that's really good. He is very weak, so he's probably dying to the check. But irregardless, you're being able to bounce a body back to the board is really good. Like, this is really good in Devas. Like, going into the Deva matchup, you want to see Gabumon, because it's like, oh, you have a level 5 on the board? Not anymore. Especially since they usually have no sources. Also, if you have the jamming Ukomon underneath this dude, it's free. It's so free. Next, we're running a small hybrid package. So we're running 2 Korikakus, specifically because of Ruin mode. Not letting that happen to me again. 1 Kumamon and 1 Lanamon. I was going to cut the Lanamon entirely in favor of having 2 Kumamons for extra source stripping. But if you guys have seen the top 16 guy who recently played a deck very similar to this and topped, he brought up a really good point. Lanamon can tuck any level 3 under any Digimon on the board. So if I ever have to go into Bond and I do not have this in the source, but I have it in hand, like because I had to Evo a bad level 3 in the Raising, I can Evo this on top of a Tamer and then tuck this under the Bond. So the Bond can now swing 3 times. So that is literally the only reason I kept this, the Lanamon in the deck. But, I mean, also the jamming, I guess, is cool. It almost never comes up. Because 9 times out of 10, you're swinging for game with one of these guys. But, you know, extra source strip, extra consistency, it's nice. Next level 5s, we are only playing 3 copies of Zudo Ace. I cut this guy down to 3 because the first time I played this deck, I drew it way too often. I was seeing it in my hand way too much. Like, this card's good, but I don't need to have 3 or 4 in my hand. So this card's really good though because you can blast Evo on top of any level 4. So if your if your Vidramon lives both its checks, now your opponent also has to worry about you blast Evoing into the Zudomon to, you know, potentially clear a body off their board. And just hard dropping him for 4 to remove any like high level Digimon with no sources is super good. Next, we're going to level 6s. We still just play the 3 copies of Metal Garurumon from BT15. You can Warp Evo on top of your Gabumons, which of course is super broken because you can give yourself blocker with this guy and then go into him, and he can be kind of a wall to sit behind. But also just being able to stun 3 cards on your opponent's board is also very good. This also works really good with another card that's going to be coming up here in a second. But next up, level 7s, we're moving on to them. 2 Gabumon Bond of Friendships. I did cut 1 because I implemented a new card in this strategy instead of the last deck. So I was okay with cutting him down. I think 2 is okay. You're going to see it. If you see it, great. You only ever need to see 1. You don't need to see 2. If they're both in security, feels bad. But, of course, when attacking, bot deck a level 5. And then if you have a blue Tamer in the board, I think it might... Yeah, any blue Tamer, he can unsuspend. So you can attack 3 times with him with the correct Gabumon and bot deck 3 potential cards. So that's very good. Then, of course, in this format, Death X. Death X is pretty much needed. It's a necessity in this format. A lot of decks these days go wide. Numa, like Luga. There's so many decks that go wide. And Death X is just here to help that. Next, moving on to the options. One of the cards I was talking about, playing 4 Training. The reason we play Training in this one is because being able to Evo into Metal Garu for 2 and keep turn is actually really good because it allows you to start swinging with him. But also, if you ever do have him on the board, you're now threatening Bond for 1 memory, and it searches every important card in your deck. Like, this grabs your Tamers, this grabs everything you possibly could need, and then it also makes the Vidramon only a 1 to Evo, so you don't have to pay that full 3 cost. Then, of course, we are still playing some form of removal. This is just so you can get cards like Quartzmon off the board, because those cards do still really hurt you. It's Full Moon. I swapped out the Foxfire for this. I just feel like this is more consistent. Your opponent knows you have Foxfire. They play around it the entire rest of the match. You can't really play around this. I get to pick what I go back to your hand, and we're good. And then on recommendation, I wanted to put this in the deck. We are playing the 1 offensive plugin. Because this guy swinging for 2 checks 3 times is really good. This guy plus this guy is also very good. If you get really lucky and you have the jamming underneath him and you have this, it's essentially all of your opponent's security just gone. So this is really good. It almost never came up tonight. I didn't really get to use it, but I'm still glad I had it. because you never know when you could have used it. But of course, you can ignore color requirements if you have a Tamer, and then security check +1. So that's it for the deck, though. I'm really happy with a lot of these changes. The deck was working a little more consistently. I was still having some bad luck with games where I bricked on level 3s, which is kind of impossible, but we still find a way to do it. But this is definitely running a lot smoother than the first variation. So if you guys like this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you next time.
Damn.
Alright, what's up, guys? Take 2, I guess.